I'm Josh Allen, and welcome to the Baked In Podcast, where I sit down with industry innovators to uncover the unique ideas and values that are baked into their businesses and have led to extraordinary success. This podcast is presented by Busey Bank. Busey has been built on that foundation of strength and service, delivering expert advice and tailored solutions for businesses and individuals for over 155 years. And they also have a strong commitment to community and the environment via lending. Since 2021, they've provided over $25 million in green financing, including energy efficiency improvements, historic preservation, and commercial social development. You can learn more about their impact at busey.com. On this week's episode, I sit down with a good friend, Doug Stritzel, founder and owner of Pickleman's Gourmet Café, who developed a love for food and an entrepreneurial mindset from an early age. Doug worked as the chief operating officer in the QSR field with Jimmy John's and Ritter's frozen custard, along with lots of experience with Wendy's and Tim Hortons. During that 15 years, he was creating and evolving the Pickleman's brand, which he eventually opened in 2005. Doug is a whirlwind of passionate drive on building systems and culture. We talk about the most important aspects of restaurant franchises, his hands-off approach to leading people, and the power of deliberate growth in the hospitality industry. Take a deep breath, folks, and let's roll. So, like 15 years of executive level experience at Jimmy John's, Ritter's frozen custard. What else did I see? Tim Hortons and Wendy's. Yeah. Before you decide to open your own place. What did you think that you could do differently that they weren't doing, or what intrigued you to do it for yourself?
Well, I, of course, had a lot of success with Jimmy John's. Got there real early on and was able to build teams. And so I found that I had a skill set in building teams and developing people and people that could perform and that really like to be there. So I was.
And just from my understanding, I mean, you started right after college. Not even in management. You just working in a Jimmy John's?
No. I went into management.
You went into management immediately?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And then within just a couple of years, you're the COO of Jimmy John's.
Yes. Right? Yeah. I did. I was the last guy to do the 90 day in a row where you work in a row, 90 days in a row. Where you're paying $300 a week, and then you got a $1,500 bonus if you survived. Now, those days.
What percentage of people survive that?
I don't know, but nobody did that after I did.
That was like that was the management boot camp?
Well, and that's kind of why I thought the company was a great opportunity for me, because I realized that, hey, they're trying to get people to work 90 days in a row. That takes out anybody that has a relationship or a marriage or children. I mean, there's a lot of things that I saw.
You thinned out the competition a little bit in that?
Yeah, I mean, you there's some flaws there. So I saw it as a great opportunity. I played in some college sports for a couple of years, and obviously in high school I was on teams, various teams. Many of them I was captains of. So I was good at building camaraderie and good at creating teamwork, and I just saw it as basic blocking and tackling, common sense.
And it was pretty early, right? This was
in like 1992.
So you left, and they had under 100 units when you left.
They had I think they had about 80 some odd open, right. And then 100 or more licensed. There were a lot of licenses sold. So I left in 1999, and I really left knowing I had the skill set to build teams about anywhere, and I could build a culture. So at that point, I really had the goal of opening my own. However, I had a non-compete, plus I had franchised the Jimmy John's. So I had to sell the Jimmy John's, and then due to the franchising license, I had a 3-year non-compete on top of that. So I had to find this. I had a big gap, and the gap was where I had to fill the gap with, trying to fill my toolbox, if you will. So I took an opportunity with Ritter's Frozen Custard, which is a organization or a company that started in Indianapolis, Indiana. They had about 50 units. So that was.
Are they still around? Because I don't know.
No, they ended up going. Well, Ritter's, the motto was you find a 2.5 acre lot, you build a round building with a blue roof, and it was quite back then. I think the outlay was about or 2.5 million. Well, on Custard, that's a tall order especially if you're not going to be right in where your brand is really popular. So to penetrate in another market and expect a potential franchisee to have that kind of capital outlay, when you have other local custard brands to compete with, which you didn't have in Indianapolis or Indiana for that matter. Like here in St. Louis, we had Ted Drew's. That wouldn't work in St. Louis. So I had urged that John, go to looking at inline shopping centers or end caps, as about every other brand does outside of McDonald's and some of the legacy brands that were in so early. There was a lot of property available at that point at good prices. So he didn't want to scale it down, and also the franchisees were also struggling because there weren't a lot of systems in place. There wasn't a solid food cost system, and they really didn't have many budgeting tools for their labor. So there were a lot of red flags there. So I ended up taking a job as an operating partner with a Wendy's and Tim Hortons franchisee. So that was in Detroit, Michigan. And that was a great opportunity for me because I got to learn and really see how an organization like Wendy's, conducts their training, how they run their organization, and really go through that whole culture piece that Wendy's also does really well. So it gave me, helped polish my skill set, I would say. I was able to work with a lot of Wendy's corporate folks, and actually did some things.
Was Dave Thomas still around at that time?
He wasn't. This was Joyce Euphemie was the divisional vice president at the time. She was in charge of about 1,500 to 1,600 stores, and then the VP in the Detroit DMA. His name was Ron Johnson, great guy. Ron and I got along real well. What I did is I created a tool where all of the franchisees and the corporate stores, because you get in the franchisee-franchisor relationship is always really muddled. Franchisees are always upset with the franchisor on how they spend the advertising dollars. And back then, a lot of the franchisees in Wendy's they'd point their finger at the corporate company, and then the corporate company points the finger at them because they both own stores in the market. Well, not everybody thinks that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do for the good of the brand. So you have, mudslinging going back and forth. So, I just said, okay, at Jimmy John's, I had applied a ranking sheet to, the different managers in the different stores, and I grade it every week. I sent it out, so there was pure accountability. So I simply took that, and I said, okay, I'm gonna present this to Ron, where we take the timers, some of the Wendy's initiatives. Like at that time, Wendy's was going to headsets. Some of the franchisees didn't have headsets, didn't for the drive-through. So and Wendy's was really adamant about that, and it did in fact make the drive-through faster. Well, Wendy's in the Detroit DMA, probably half the franchisees they hadn't bought on, and they didn't want to reinvest into the brand, which is always a franchisees. That's another friction point. Sure. So what I did is I said, okay, we're going to put this peer accountability sheet. It's a weekly performance tracking sheet together, and I had about 9 to 10 things on it. But part of it was these couple of Wendy's initiatives that they weren't getting a lot of buy-in. So that is how, and I think that's why I think Ron Johnson loved the idea, because not only did we have their timer performances and their food costs, but the Wendy's initiatives also helped because then it wrote the GM's name was on there, the area manager's name was on there, and the franchisee's name was on there. And if you have a swath of stores that each of these franchisees owns, and there's a bar of your 5 stores, and you're down there and you don't have any headsets, or you haven't done this initiative, and all of your peers in the whole market and every general manager sees that guy Frank who owns those stores, it's called accountability. And peer accountability, it wasn't in a negative way, but it was just really to say, hey, here's the buy-in in the market, here's how they're performing. Here's how each of the general managers perform on their pieces that they could impact. Here's the franchisees, how they're taking care of their stores. And it really, the Detroit DMA, I was there for about 3.5 years. But the Detroit DMA, the group that I got in with was Pickleman and Associates. Started with 8 stores. In the 4 years, I doubled that to 16. We got a couple of our stores Dave's Way certified. We actually had Joyce actually came and visited our stores, which is something that's pretty prestigious. But we polished literally the details that Wendy's was looking for.
So this whole time you're formulating in the back of your head this next concept for yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I really didn't spend, I didn't spend, I wasn't spending time, thinking about my menu and all that. I knew that I was going to do it. I already knew it was going to be toasted sandwiches. I already had a pretty good idea what the menu was going to look like.
So there wasn't anything about fast food, about burgers, about donuts, about the stuff that you were doing there that was intriguing for the next.
But what there was I like food, and then when you go to somewhere, and it was what was the name of that place? Not a macaroni grill, but more of an upscale Italian place. I can't remember the name of it, but one time I went and they had a lobster bisque. Well, lobster bisque was so good. I'm like, okay. 2 days later, I went back. No lobster bisque. So then I went back again, a week or so later, no lobster bisque. I said, when do you have lobster bisque? So, it's just random. I said, okay. So then I would call. And before I went there, say, do you guys have lobster bisque tonight? And when they did, I'd go. When they didn't, I wouldn't. So that was one of the principles. Like when I created the tomato basil bisque soup that we have, we actually started with stock pot. I thought it was the best soup in the world. It was cold layered. It had never been heated, and the process that they manufactured it was just a phenomenal product. So, anytime you went anywhere for food, if you didn't get the 2, 3, 4 things that people told you to get, it was just it was an okay thing. It was like, that's okay. Or I wanted a place where no matter what you ordered, it would be really good, and it would basically pass my palate. And I like lots of different things. So that was the goal, and the other goal was,
So what did you see though in toasted? I mean, obviously you had experience with Jimmy John's, and then you kind of got into more QSR with Wendy's. I mean, what did you see in toasted sandwiches? I mean, this was 2005, right? That you opened Pickleman. So in the early 2000s, did you see this? Because it wasn't fast food. I mean, there was still the growth early in the 2000s of the McDonald's and the Burger Kings. I mean, they still had some momentum at that time. What did you see about and this was kind of really aggressive growth of Panera, So I'm just interested sort of what your perspective was.
I think that nobody really hit the right notes. I mean, you go to Panera, it's really slow. You go to Firehouse and it's just okay. I don't enjoy the product. I don't think steaming the meat is the way to go. It made the sandwich wet. Jersey Mike's wasn't anywhere around, but again, that started in 1956, I believe. So, and after having it, it's a good product, but it's not great. Pickleman's, I wanted there to be a little bit for everybody, and I wanted it to be good for everybody, that ended up going there. So I just saw it as an opportunity. I don't think anybody really threaded the needle with, and then I also wanted it to be quality. That's the other big thing. I knew from my Jimmy John's days, looking at these different meats, and the quality of the meats, I knew that you go to Subway, it's terrible. It was where is that even sliced at? We don't know. So when what's in it, and then with the Subway model, there's like 5 or 6 different turkeys they could actually order and have on there, so there's no consistency in the brand. But they're the lower tier on the levels of the quality of the deli meat. So I wanted a whole muscle turkey. I wanted to have a better quality product freshly prepared, and I just thought I could do it better than everybody else. Is the bottom line.
So what was the biggest challenge with doing that?
I tell you, the biggest challenge was really just finding the best products that were out there. So at that time, Ganella bread was in my opinion, the best bread out there. Potbellies, as an example, they start with Ganella bread, and I thought that the Ganella was also the bread that Jimmy John's used in a frozen form. But the bread was kind of a robust roll that would hold up to Italian beef and the sandwiches I needed to it. And it finished off in the oven. And from the other breads that were out there, I tested bread from just about everywhere. It was the best bread that I could get that was produced, because nobody was going to make bread for me just special because I was opening up one store. So I had to pick the best products. And then it's more about the system and the throughput, and making sure that we were able to produce enough sales and execute enough sandwiches or products in order to make it a healthy product model, which is, I think, we threaded the needle on it.
Were the metrics that you put into place then or do you still employ the same metrics now? What's been the evolution of sort of how you look at the restaurants on a daily or weekly operational basis?
Well, the evolution was we went, hey, we have a pizza too, and now we have 2 ovens. So, but the flow of the restaurants never changed from day one. I mean, they start here, they go through the oven, and they're finished. So that hasn't really changed. What's changed is we've developed our salads. We have great soup. We've added macaroni and cheese, which is a phenomenal product. We're making mac bowls, and all of these little things like pizza, as an example. It's only 10 to 15% of our sales. So it's just every little thing that we have makes it appealable to large office crowds, large families, kids with families with picky kids. So macaroni and cheese, tomato soup. I think we just have threaded the needle on what a quality sandwich shop needs to look like. That's going to be fast, with an extremely fast delivery method to execute the food.
So, like the accountability thing that you created for Wendy's in Detroit, have you applied that lesson? Do you have the same kind of thing today for Pickleman? We have look at metrics across the restaurant.
We absolutely do. We absolutely do. We have, one of our challenges is really our franchisees. They don't have a lot of experience outside of our brand. Most of them started out of college, so they're having a lot of success. However, there's things that I've when I first started, we would do food costing inventories every week, and we would look at our variance numbers, and we would manage that food cost down, because I had a family to support. I didn't come from a bunch of money, and in fact, when I left the positions, I had negotiated a contract to have a little bit of a buyout. Well, the Wendy's person didn't even pay me, so I had to scrape it together to even start the first store, and it really was, so I made money the day one, and I believe that the product and the system and then it's the grassroots marketing also. I think that it's a very, very viable concept.
So, but as you look at it, we have a lot of restaurant folks on the show that I get to talk to, and not so many in fast casual, but we had Fred from Lion's Choice on a little while ago, and what do you think are the most critical attributes to building a successful franchise?
Well, you've got to have flexibility, yet at the same time you have to maintain your standards. You have to have consistent standards across the board. So you have the same product here as in Dallas, Texas. And that creates synergy for buying and purchasing and bringing your food costs down. The key measurements that we look at and that we share with our franchisees from a profitability standpoint are our food costs and our labor costs, of course. Those are the things that they can most impact. And then how they spend their money on their advertising and promoting of the different products. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. You're obviously a metrics guy. And we've had guys that are looking at their phones every 15 minutes because they can get, ticket counts and everything else. And some folks who are a little bit more relaxed about it. Personally, how invested time-wise are you in sort of measuring and managing the success of the franchises? Are you pretty laid back and take a step back?
We don't overanalyze the numbers. We really focus on the culture, and we really focus on coaching our people and working through them on promoting positive behaviors. So we don't put a huge emphasis on this time or that time. Now, of course, with DoorDash we started doing and timeliness deliveries, those are all things, of course, we look at. But really the focus is on our people and developing the people and developing the culture so they can meet the service expectations and improve the service expectations. What are those expectations, one might ask? Well, I say it's as simple as this. When one person comes in the door, that's the golden opportunity where you can provide them the best possible service ever. So the expectation is that you do it with a sense of urgency, as well as you can do it. And the faster you can do it, the more likely they're going to be back to come. They're going to come back more often if they know they can come in here, get a sandwich real fast, or if they get in here and there's a line, if they know you move fast and you do it and you're happy about doing it with a smile on your face. So we have had, contests as an example. One of the fun ones was we would get a busload of there were about 60 frat kids that would come in, or 70. We'd have frats come in, sororities come in. We'd line them up, and then we'd time how fast we could get these people through the line. And we would high five and celebrate with each other. But it wasn't like we weren't paying money to people as an extra bonus so they would work faster. We were just a team, kind of. And it was fun. It makes the time go by faster.
I mean, turnover, retention. I mean, it's been such a brutal aspect of the hospitality industry. Most specifically, probably at the price points that you're in a position to pay. Are you guys doing anything unique, interesting to sort of support your franchisees as they wrestle with that issue?
Well, we have...
There are cultural things that you're doing at a corporate level to try to...
we share the coaching with them. We talk about the 1 minute manager and the 1 minute manager meets the monkey, how to delegate, how to build in team building. So, yeah, sure, there's an element to that. That each franchisee has the potential to go through and read. A lot of these guys, when they're young, I've given them the books, talked about it some with them. They do some of that in their stores. On a day-to-day basis, we're not a franchisor really isn't communicating with their franchisee daily. They have the process, they have the systems, they've been taught or brought up in the culture. They've been given the books and there's development times that we spend with them. But on a day-to-day basis, we're really fortunate. We have great people that are part of the brand, and they really do a good job managing their people and building that culture.
Is that hard for you? I mean, I know you a little bit, and I know how hands-on you are and how much you enjoy working behind the line or whatever. Is that hands-off hard? Is it hard to take that step back and I don't mean it because obviously as a leader and a coach, that there's also a big piece of that, but that there is that little bit of disconnect. Is that hard to do?
Well, I mean, I don't know that it's hard to do. It would be hard not to do that because I can't be hands-on in 30 locations in 7 states. That's not possible. So, I know that my time when I spend with people are pretty impactful, and when I go to the restaurant, sometimes I'll make a sandwich, sometimes I'll jump in and I cut. I don't. But what I do say unconditionally is, listen, when I'm in your store, I'm the last priority. I don't want you to cater to me at all. I want you to take care of the guests. I want you to take care of your people, and then so your people take care of the guests. And I'm the last priority because you know what? No matter what happens, whether it's good or bad, I have to come back tomorrow no matter what because I own this thing. So I don't want a red carpet. I don't want anything fancy. I'm there to share with them my passion and what I believe is important about making the brand successful and about them having success in it. And it's really about just sharing the love. Forever this thing, we've had crazy days and there's crazy things that have gone on in this whole world. Since I started the crash in 2008, the COVID craziness and just all that stuff has gone on. And back in the day, I did that sub so fast you'll freak because everybody wants things fast. But man, we've had a lot of pain in this country and in this world, and I don't know what it was, but I felt like the best thing for the brand, the kind of the tagline I've always gone with is whole lot of love, one big pickle. And the pickle is the levity of that, but I really think that we need a lot of love, and we put love into the food that we sell and serve. And it's always our top of our priority. And we also put love into the relationships we have and with our franchisees and the people that are working for us. So, I don't care who you are in the company. I appreciate the fact that you're working at the company. And I tell you that 99% of the people that are working there, at least my belief is that most about everybody that's ever worked there, they can respect the brand because, after you're working there, you see the differences in what makes Pickleman's different and the little subtleties. So it's all these, and I used to call it like the 50 intangibles that can take a brand from its inception into where it's a franchisable concept to where it's maybe even could be a national franchise concept. And from day one, my goal is to have a national franchise company, and I know that involves having culture but it also involves having a quality product and then having some differentiators that set yourself apart. And I think we have all those things. So I could digress in any particular area. We could be here for hours upon hours, but one of the big steps for our company, I think, was really our partnership with you and Companion Bakery. We were able to clean up our bread. We were able to boil it down to the ingredients that we need to have in the bread that actually is back to more of our ancestral type of a bread product that's not pumped with full of preservatives. So having the relationship that I have with you, I really appreciate because not every and I'd been looking. I had. And I don't need to call them out, but I've had other bread companies that I'd looked at and tried to make a better roll than that Ganella roll and change it the way that I wanted it to be changed and have just the right texture, and really nobody else got it.
Yeah, and we've had a relationship for a long time since 2000. Well, I don't even know when it started. I know we started baking for you in 2018, but it took almost a couple of years to develop the product that you wanted, which honestly for me was the most enjoyable aspect of it. Like, was it a pain in the ass to make these incremental?
The tortoise wins the race. Yeah, and I tell you what, in business, what I've learned is you don't do anything fast.
Right. So how have you evolved the most as a leader in the almost 20 years of running Pickleman's? Where do you see your biggest changes as a leader?
In the onset, I was rather pretty steadfast in everything we were going to do because there weren't a lot of options. And although people had an idea here and there, no, we can't do that because we have we have a few models out here these restaurants out, they're doing really well. So the last thing you want to do really is to change anything that does really well. You have to give that time. You have to prove that concept. It's like, you don't really understand, like all of the systems and processes, they need to be thoroughly ran out, and nothing was really broken. So when nothing's really that broken and you can produce the kind of results we were able to produce and get the volume off of our production lines. I mean, we've had a store that did on an opening week did over $110,000 in a week. Well, those are Chick-fil-A numbers, and the system's the same system. We haven't changed it. It's we start here, goes through this thing, goes here. We put our salad table here with the hot tables here, and here's our coordinating area, and we did in-house delivery. So I was really not as flexible. Now my franchisees, they've had now a decade or more, in the system. They've learned, and they also, a lot of them worked. Some of them even worked for me back when I started the brand. And they've come up with a lot of great ideas. I've accepted them. We've added macaroni and cheese. We've looked at Panera, and we've looked at done some market research. Hey, what will add sales to this and help the overall AUV rise? And and I'm happy to say that in the sandwich type of a market, we're sitting pretty good with the square footage of 2,200 to 2,400 square feet. Our average unit does, I think this year it did about 1.457 or 59 million. Check the FDDs. I'm not selling a franchise today. So, that's a pretty good number.
And in many respects, you've been, and I look, I don't belittle 30 restaurants because it's an awful lot of work, but you've been very slow and deliberate in your growth, given that I know your belief is that you'd love to have a national brand. And I think it's a very strong regional brand currently. Obviously, the Texas piece starts to expand it. But at the same time, you've sort of recently amassed a team of people that you didn't have before, sort of poised for this growth. So what's next for you as you look down the next 3 to 5 or 10 years? Is there an acceleration coming that you're bringing to it that's more than the 2 restaurants a year average that you've been kind of dealing with?
What I know for sure is the sales are growing. We just started to roll out DoorDash. That's looking really good for us. It might even, in fact,
because historically you've owned your own delivery, right?
That was how. That's the other thing. We're doing some things different, such as DoorDash, which previously we've even written in the contract that you're not allowed to do third-party deliveries. A lot of that is because when we do it, we need to do it as an organization, so we make sure that we negotiate the right contracts. So DoorDash is something that we're doing, something that we're completely committed to, and prior to COVID,
will that eliminate your own drivers?
It could, yes, yes, and we've done some studies, we've been testing it, and in fact, we believe that that's actually our overall labor should come down, and it should add 4% to our bottom line. So that's a big deal for us.
And we don't want them to know. I don't think they're listening, but we don't want to give them that.
What's that?
We don't want to tell DoorDash.
Well,
how positive it is. We always got to tell them.
I tell you what, they're part of the team.
Right.
Anybody that's on the bus, I like to call part of the team. There are certain things and certain players on the team that you have to, make sure that you work out the contracts with, because otherwise you can get yourself, not feeling like you're in a team environment. But thank God I've been doing this for so long, because I know some of those pitfalls now through some wounds that I've had to lick and bandage up and move forward with. So rolling out DoorDash is a big deal. That's going to grow. That's growing sales. We're in the middle of a POS transition into a more modern system that's cloud-based, which is a big deal for us. I think our marketing is starting to come together, and the marketing budget's getting bigger. But as far as what the future brings in growth, we're in 7 states. We have 31 stores. We're building 3 more stores that are under development. Of our franchisees that we have, out of them over the next 3 to 4 years, we expect them to build another 20, somewhere between 18 and 22 stores.
From existing
franchisees, which is a huge deal. One of our Achilles heels really is, if I look at how Jimmy John's did it and how I'm doing it, Jimmy John's started with corporate stores, which I ran. So they had numbers that they could, broadcast and say, hey, these are our corporate restaurants. Here's our average unit volume. Here's our food cost. And I mean to tell you, when I manage those things, I manage those in a manner that would allow me to be the chief operating officer of Jimmy John's. So they were running really well. We would run our food cost at a under a 1% total variance, which is somewhat difficult to do. But it is, but it isn't. But that involves some daily counts, some daily inventories, and looking at things at the end of the week, and then putting an action plan in place that day. So tomorrow or tonight, you actually corrected what you found in your variances, and you would be targeting either it be the bread or maybe it's turkey walked out the door. So we would target these things and tweak them. So Jimmy John's had this big footprint of corporate stores, which also, which the average unit volume was 400,000. When I took them over in 3 years, I got them up to about 850,000. So increase that, improve the numbers, and then they had these stores that they sold a bunch of franchises with. Well, I don't have a bunch of stores. My goal is really to teach others how to be successful in the restaurant business using my brand and my marks and my systems and processes. So I want to build people up. I haven't spent the time building my own corporate stores up because I don't necessarily feel like I don't want to do that to a large degree. I want to teach others how to win. So,
So does that make you pretty selective on the kind of people that you want as a franchisee?
Well, I think it's as selective as somebody that's committed to investing in the brand. We're looking for people that have a track record of excellence in their, in some form in their past, and then some stick-to-itiveness. But the big goal is really to find the franchise operators out there that are already existing that have maybe they have a Dunkin' Donuts brand or they've franchised, Five Guys. With the Five Guys burgers or fries, or there's the Shake Shack franchisee, in that local market. I think that once we catch on and a few of these seasoned operators see the processes and the systems and the insane amount of throughput we're able to create, I think that they'll see it as a really viable concept for them to add to their portfolio within their footprint, where they have the management and all their structure. There's a lot of multi-unit franchisees out there that have multiple brands. I know it's a common practice, and I think that's really where we're going to really start to launch. But as they see the existing franchisees that I have and how they've been able to build their brands up, because I can't really disclose their particular food cost numbers. And I also know that they're not doing systems as, systems were done in such as Jimmy John's, or if you have corporate control. So it's not really a reflection of our ability to execute. It's a reflection of, and it's inconsistent. Right. Because some franchisees do better. Some franchisees are content with where they're at, and they don't want to spend 4 hours on inventory day to find themselves 1.5 on their profit margin because they feel like they're happy enough. So it's hard to get people that are really successful to do something extra if they're not uncomfortable at all and they're quite content.
How's the reception been? I know you've attended, or you guys have exhibited at a few franchise shows recently. Is the reception and the interest peaking that
yeah,
exists before?
I think it is. I think it's starting to peak. I think that the differentiators, to really get the differentiator, I think it's critical that we have our food there. So we're pulling back on the number of events, and we're really just focused on going to events where we outlay quite a bit more money, but we actually have our product there. I think that by having our product there, people can certainly taste the difference.
Right.
It's at the MUFA multi-unit franchise convention in Las Vegas, Jersey Mike's there, Jimmy John's is there, Firehouse is there, Shake Shack is there. All the big names are there. Jersey Mike's brought in sandwiches. However, they're already everywhere. So everyone knows what they are and what they taste like and all that. Well, we have 31 stores open. We're nowhere really. So we need to have our product there so we can display it. Because the show that we went to in Dallas where we had our product, we were the location of the show. There was a center mass of the people out in front of my booth eating. And whether it be the cookie or a sample of the tomato bisque, or we took macaroni and cheese. We took our lemonade, which is non-GMO lemons, pure cane sugar, and water. So we took all of these products that are phenomenal products, plus your bread or our bread, we call it our bread, our bread and our sandwiches. We had a few of the sandwiches, and we did a couple of pizzas, and we just all day long we were passing out, and people were like, oh my God, they can tell the difference. So we're going to do that at the multi-unit franchise show in Las Vegas next year.
So I know I read an article, I think from 2006, where the Columbia, some magazine or newspaper in Columbia had written about you, and at the time it was 100 stores in 10 years, I think was the initial goal. So we didn't get that one.
No.
But what is there a new one as you look down the road that you're sort of touting internally?
I tell you, everything in business, the tortoise wins the race. So
maybe what you've learned is not to throw a number on like that?
Yeah. I mean, listen, when in 2006 we had a whole different world. We had a whole different economy. We had access to capital. We had access to all kinds of things. And I put together the team that did Jimmy John's, left them with at 80 or so stores, and the guys that were there. I mean, Tim Messiah was one guy that I hired to be the first training director there. He's like number 2 in the whole position now today. So I have guys that I hired back for Jimmy John's that are there 3 decades later, and that company was growing at that particular time. So, then 2008 happened. That slowed it all down.
Sure.
And so a lot of things have changed, and also it's a more competitive marketplace than what it was. So even at that, like a lot of these concepts that have scaled across the country, if they weren't across the country already, they wouldn't do it again today. There's too much competition. It's the competitors that are coming up today that are better than what's out there right now, that are part of my competition. So it's a more competitive place, but
So what keeps you up at night?
Nothing. No. What keeps me up at night is, let me see, what does keep me up at night? Just hoping that humanity can love each other. That's really what keeps me up at night. I really think that
it's an interesting next couple of months for you then, as we.
I think it's an interesting next couple of months for the world. Yeah. I mean, we have 6 months. We have all kinds of things that can impact humanity. We've got wars in 2 different areas in the world, that no matter what side you're on, both sides don't like each other at all, and there's a lot of hate that's there, and it needs to be about the love. We need to find love, and we need to anything that pushes us away or divides us. We need to really we need to walk away from that. We need to walk away from anything that's negative in our lives, whether it be our relationship, whatever it is. I think that people need to start to try to levitate towards what more looks more like love.
Yeah, and I know you talk about that, and I know philanthropy is a big piece of what you do, and community. What does that look like for you? I know you've done some teaching at Mizzou. Are you still doing?
I wouldn't say it's teaching. I mean, I would say that if I ever really indicated that, I that's overblown.
Speaking.
I went and talked to some students about my experience with business law as it associated with franchising, Pickleman's, and, had some laughs, and I think I provided them some solid insights for them to consider for their futures, and I think that there's, what a sharp group of people that was. Really, they were very well, and you know what? They loved it. I got over 100 messages from the students thanking me for coming. So many. I mean, it filled up my LinkedIn thing. I'm so behind on my LinkedIn. I actually that keeps me up at night. What keeps me up at night is a lot of people reach out to me, and I'm busy and I don't get back to people, and I hope that they don't ever take that wrong. But I get a lot of solicitors. And I also believe in somebody. I'm one that always wants to give somebody an opportunity. So I feel like they're coming to me. They're trying to pitch something. I feel really bad, but I can't. I'm only one guy. I can only talk to so many people in a day, and I can only hear so many different pitches in a day. And then at the same time, I have my own kids and my own family, and I have my own things that I need to have for myself. So there has to be a boundary between those. So I hope that people aren't put off because I didn't get back to them, or
I'm with you on that, and I just think that there shouldn't be an expectation that you respond to every unsolicited LinkedIn post.
Yeah, and you get oh, I guess you missed that. Oh, I guess you don't care if you want to if your business doesn't do that. You're almost guilted into. It's like I do in fact care. However, you're one of 15 people that are calling me about the exact same thing, and because you're not here running this, you're not the CEO on the ship here. You don't, and I'm not obligated to tell you that we've got that covered, and we signed a contract, and we spent 5 months on that 9 months ago,
right?
And I'm not going to spend 5 more months on that 9 months from now. So I'm looking for long-term business deals, arrangements. I want the long-term relationship with whomever I'm working for. So I like to take it slow, make sure that everything feels right for, both of us. I don't want to get in a relationship if I feel like you don't really like me. I mean, that's not sustainable. I mean, we have to like each other and love each other and get along and be able to, understand that is this somebody that's going to every now and then be willing to compromise, or every now and then be able to be reasonable. I mean, if we did disagree, what's the character of the person that I'm dealing with? Not only the company's character, but what the leadership's character.
Yeah. So how do you relax and recharge when you're not wound up talking about business?
I believe in my people. I believe everybody I have are just absolute rock stars, and I have all the confidence in the world that they're going to do the right things. Not that they won't make mistakes, and they do make mistakes, but the decisions they make are decisions they're making from their heart because they care about the brand. They see that we care about the products and the quality products that we serve. They see about how we treat them. People have very, very, very free schedules with me. I don't tell them what to do, where to go, how to do anything. I'll ask them questions about what they're doing or how they're doing it. I might give them a suggestion or two. I might give them a book. I give them the philosophy. I might share with them experiences I've seen, had, or what's been successful for me. But ultimately, and I don't look at their schedules. I don't manage anything about them. I completely allow them to say, listen, you have the same opportunity I do. This is one of the best potential concepts out there in the whole marketplace. Okay? We care. We're cleaning up. We're removing seed oils from our salad dressings. Our salad dressings in a few short months are going to be cold pressed olive oil, cold pressed, first pressed, cold pressed avocado oil, and that's going to be what we put on our salad dressings. No more canola oil. No more what everybody else does. We're putting our people and our customers first, and the health of them first. And many of them don't even know that you're not supposed to eat canola oil.
Right. You mentioned books a second ago. What's the book that you're handing out most lately?
I hand out the books to the people that are down managing the units, that are learning how to be team leaders for their crews and their staff. So I like to hand out the 1 Minute Manager series of books. I'll hand out some leadership books. Sometimes I hand out a Stephen Covey book, which you'd have to dust off in your
but it's also relevant.
It is so relevant because all these new books that are out there, and I haven't. And I'll tell you right now, I haven't read them all. Not even close to them. I haven't read many of them. I read a few, but when they talk Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, Gen this, okay, it's another reason to write the same principles and philosophies in a kind of another different way. But really, if you get down to the core part of things, what a person, no matter what generation they're from, they need recognition for what they're doing. They need to feel appreciated for that they're there, and they need to feel a part of it. Not a generation. Not a generation. Now, I'm not building teams of people that are complete introverts and they want to work behind a screen. They're not what comes in. They're not getting a job making sandwiches and being part of that type of a team. So in my world, for what I need, those things haven't changed. No matter what generation you look at, you need recognition. You need to be treated with respect. When I got into back when I was a college student, and this is in the very, very early 90s, and kids, college students, employees in the restaurant environment were treated so poorly. They'd get yelled at. There was no culture. We've had a renaissance of culture in the food industry over the last 20 to 30 years.
Yeah, out of necessity.
Absolutely out of necessity. But back then, that's what I saw. I said, how could you say that to them? You're not helping your teammate out. So I saw that so clear as day, as to where I knew that I could provide that better experience. The guy that's my chief operating officer, I hired at Wendy's in 2002. He didn't even want to be. He was a general manager, but he had the right leadership skills. I could tell, and in the way that he coached and communicated, I knew this guy, the level he was at. This guy was a big picture guy. This guy was somebody that could potentially be an officer in a company someday. So I said to Ken, in 2002, 2003, I said, Ken, why don't I want you to get into multi-unit? No, I don't want to do it. I said, okay, well, Ken, you have all these tools. Yeah, but I said, you're going to ride with me for a year, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So he rode with me, not necessarily a year, but probably 9 months at least, and I trained him to be my replacement. Trained him how to put together teams, manage people, and then he took those things and. There's a legend in Wendy's. He over half the company that I left him with, he doubled the size of that over the next 14 years. He had like 30 some odd stores, Tim Hortons and Wendy's, but over half of his companies ended up being Dave's Way certified by using the same processes, skills, building. So and he evolved. He does some other, but it's the same basic principles. That's not changed. So. We like to say that it did a little bit, and it did culturally somewhat, but still in that workplace and the environment you create and the team that you create. The football squad's not any different. The soccer teams aren't. Right. They're still
Yeah, look, it's really neat to hear. It's neat to hear your passion for building team and for building culture because it's so critical. I really appreciate you spending a few minutes with me this morning.
I hope I can come back someday.
Yeah. You're always invited back.
But I mostly appreciate the relationship we've had for 10 plus years, and I know that's going to be relationship's going to last a long time, and probably carry hopefully both of our companies to maybe our children are.
The ovens are always they're always firing for you.
Doing business together 30 years from now, you never know.
Well, thanks, Doug. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining me today. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed sharing these insights from folks I truly admire. Be sure and follow the show in your favorite podcast player to be alerted to newly released episodes. And share a comment if you have any feedback or future contributor recommendations.